Hello everyone, we're here with Mr. Marshall, the Interior Design Program Chair here at Ensign College. We're so excited to hear from him 10 things we need to know before getting into an interior design career.
First thing you need to know is it's not all about pillow fluffing and choosing cool colours. The public perception of what interior design is grossly misplaced. And I think that we've all seen many shows about interior design on TV that kind of show it as this kind of seamless process where someone walks into the room and goes, and it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
That isn't it. It's a lot more involved, it's a lot more engaged. I don't think I've ever fluffed a pillow. So that's it from my side. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to know. The second thing you need to know is you need to unlearn everything you think you know about it. We come into it with all these kind of ideas and perceptions of what it's about. Most people get it wrong, I would say, 9 times out of 10. I also think that there's something to be said for the process of unlearning something, because what you're doing is you're basically making yourself more receptive to the things that you need to learn about it. Number 3 is you need a hungry mind to learn through doing. So in interior design, we don't learn a lot through reading books or even watching videos or watching other people do it. That might provide kind of a nice introduction, but there's not a lot of learning that happens in doing that. I saw this great observation that said that drawing is both a noun and a verb. There's the drawing that you end up with, the noun, and then there's the act of drawing, the verb, the thing we do. And it's the act of drawing, it's in the act of drawing, the verb, that's where all the learning happens. I think that's true. There's something to be said for quantity equals quality. I've got this excerpt from this book. This is from the book Art and Fear by David Bales and Ted Orland. And I think that this is applicable to interior design. And it says, the ceramics teacher announced on opening day that he was dividing the class into 2 groups. All those on the left of the studio, he said, would be graded solely on the quantity of the work they produced. All those on the right, solely on its quality. His procedure was simple. On the final day of class, he would bring in his bathroom scales and weigh the work from the quantity group, 50 pounds of pots rated an A, 40 pounds a B, and so on. Those being graded on quality, however, needed to produce only 1 pot, albeit a perfect one. Well, came grading time and a curious fact emerged. The works of highest quality were all produced by the group being graded for quantity. It seems that while the quantity group was busily churning out piles of work and learning from their mistakes, the quality group had sat theorising about perfection and in the end had little more to show for their efforts than grandiose theories and a pile of dead clay. And I think that sums it up really well. As well as drawing, design is a noun and a verb. There's the design that you end up with, and then there's the act of designing. And it's in the act of designing where all the learning happens. And there's no way to shortcut that, really. I think people think that there is. It's interesting because it's the actual act of designing that students seem most fearful of when they come to school. And it's interesting that quote actually came from a book called Art and Fear. And it's to do with the fear. And so it's a hungry mind to learn through doing, and one of the biggest things we do is draw. We draw a lot. We don't have to be great artists. We just have to know what what we use drawing for, which is to solve problems and to design things. It's not about producing these sort of masterpieces. And there's something that I've observed in my career, and that is that bad designers, and there are a lot of them out there, sadly, don't draw. I would say that average designers draw a little bit, and I would say that good designers draw a lot. But I would say that the best designers can't stop. It's just this hunger that they have to be constantly drawing and solving problems and designing, and they're just constantly looking for issues to solve. Number 4, you need a critical mind and a thick skin. So, and those two things are not disconnected. So you need a critical mind in that you constantly need to be looking at things around you for what's wrong with them and how they could be better. But you need a critical mind on your own work and other people's work. We are in our society, especially today, there's this thing of like judgment-free zone. The interior design lab is not a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
In fact, it's exactly the opposite. We're all judging each other all the time, and that's the way that we get better. And you need a thick skin, because with your judgment, you're going to be judged.
Yeah.
And it's not that people are trying to. It's not personal. It's about making your work better.
Definitely.
Number 5 is inextricably connected to that in a sense. It's to seek critique and correction. It just makes it better. I always find it funny the way you see students in their first semester here who they kind of do their work and then they're kind of like this, like, oh, don't look at it, the judgment free zone. And they're just very kind of, I guess, shy about the work that they've done. And then you see them in their final semester, in semester 6, and they're just begging people to look at their work. And they're like, can you just tell me what's wrong with this? And they do. And they're not ashamed of it. They just want to make it better. And I think that's the same in the industry. If we're constantly seeking correction, tell me what's wrong with it. That's a good question to ask. Number 6 is you need a good eye. You find that as you engage more and more with this subject matter, you almost find it impossible to kind of go into a space and not see things. You're looking everywhere to kind of work out what's working and what's not working and what you can do to fix it. That will make you a great designer. It will make your life quite uncomfortable, and I think that's kind of connected. Becoming comfortable with discomfort. I once spoke with an architect that I knew in London who he designed and built his own house, and I guess it was like his manifesto piece. He'd been practicing architecture for a long time, and then he built his house. And I went to see a lecture that he gave, and I spoke to him afterwards, and I said, "What's it like living in the house that you designed?" And he said, "It's awful." And I was like, "Well, tell me why." And he said, "You end up living in your own mistakes, and it's problematic." But I think that's because he's developed the mind of a designer, and wherever he is, it would be uncomfortable because he's constantly seeking out kind of what he can fix. I think it's the nature of it. Yeah. So you need a good eye, and I think connected to that is to be comfortable with ambiguity and discomfort. They're the two things. Let's move on to number 7. You need tenacity, grit, determination, passion, and commitment. And that sounds like a big ask. And I think that sometimes people people will ask the question, well, do I have the tenacity, grit, determination, passion to be able to do that? And I just think that that's the wrong question. Like, do I have these feelings about this subject? Because I don't think it works like that. I don't think that we just have these kind of involuntary emotions about subject matter. I think it's a choice that we make. We decide whether we're going to be tenacious, and whether we're going to have grit, and whether we're going to be determined, and whether we're going to be passionate about something. I don't think that that's just pronounced upon us. I think it's a decision that we make. And you can make that decision, I think, about this. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about unlearning everything that you think you know. It's kind of like, will I be determined and will I be passionate about this thing? And it's kind of like, well, how would you know anyway?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, and you have to engage with it to know what it is. It reminds me of that great quote, which is, successful people are not gifted, they just work hard. And then they succeed on purpose. Well, I love that quote because it's not an involuntary thing. It's a voluntary thing. It's something that we decide we're going to do. And if you want to love it, you've got a better chance of loving it. Number 8 is this: don't covet your ideas. And there's a couple of reasons for this. So sometimes in a project, you'll have a great idea. There'll be several ideas running throughout a project. There'll be overarching ideas, and then there'll be kind of a secondary idea. I mean, it's all just full of ideas. Sometimes, for the project to work, you'll have to sacrifice your favourite idea, the idea you coveted. Yeah, and that can be painful if you've put it on this pedestal. I think there's something to be said for just engaging in a design process and allowing those ideas to become as important or as unimportant as they need to be in the scope of the big picture. And I think there's another reason for not coveting ideas. I think there's this, and it tends to happen with I think quite inexperienced ideas, that they'll have an idea and then they'll be like, that's my idea. And it's like, well, it really isn't. I can guarantee it's probably been done before. Mm-hmm. And the ideas that you have aren't really your ideas anyway. They have to have come from somewhere. If they didn't come from somewhere, then they're probably not relevant. Mm-hmm. So just by virtue of their relevance, they came from somewhere else, which means they're not really yours. They're not yours to protect and cage up. Let them free. Let people steal them. It's fine. Just have more ideas. Just have loads of ideas. I think that when you start to cover ideas, you'll have less ideas. That's the way it's always worked for me, anyway. If someone steals your idea, that's a compliment in my eyes. So don't covet your ideas, just have more. Number 9, lots of work equals lots of fun equals being really good. And I remember being in school and working at kind of 2 or 3 in the morning, just burning the midnight oil, just seemingly endlessly for weeks. But I remember it just kind of dawning on me, and it was in my 3rd year of a bachelor's degree, and I was just kind of making these models and doing my final drawings, and this is when we were actually using pens to create technical drawings. We weren't really using CAD then. And I remember thinking, man, this is exhausting, this is really tiring, but I really love it, and it doesn't bother me. I don't mind staying up this late for this many nights in a row because it's really enjoyable. And I just think that when it's a chore, you need to kind of sit back and just kind of go, is this for me? If everything just feels like a chore, it's like, are you enjoying it? Because you need to be enjoying it, because if you want to do it for a career, it has to be fun. It is fun, it is rewarding, and I just find that when you're having fun, you want to do it more, and you're just going to get really, really good really quickly, because as we said before, you only learn through doing, through the act of designing. For number 10, this is an important one. Design is a subservient occupation. I think that we see these kind of star designers, we call them star architects and whatever else, and I find it really unnerving when we put these designers up on these pedestals, because it does take it takes a city to build a building, and I don't think it's about them anyway. I think that when we see design as a subservient occupation, and you can say, as a designer, it's not about me, it's about lifting the spirits of others, then you can do something that's of value. I think as soon as it becomes about you as a designer, it's not of value to anyone else anymore. It's only of value to your reputation and fame, which isn't really relevant to much apart from you. And I don't think that's what design is. I think design is necessarily subservient and necessarily about other people, and that when we realise that, we can do something that's of value to those people, because they become the centre of that picture. And that's 10 things you need to know about interior design.
Thank you. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. We appreciate you taking the time to teach us and be with us.
You're welcome.
And thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to learn more about the interior design program at Ensign College, check out the link in the description.